God bless the devoted and the diligent. I pray that the Spirit of God gives you the ears to hear. I pray that He gives you a heart to perceive and the eyes to see in Jesus' name. This is Sister Liberty and I'm back here once again with another teaching for you. I wanted to talk today about a topic that I believe most people can relate to, especially if you come from a place where you've experienced so much at such an early age. You can sometimes take on a mindset known as a victim's mindset or a victim's mentality. Now, that's not to say that you may not have been done wrong or you may not have been taken advantage of and that you may not be a victim, but you can't stay at that place of being a victim, because if you carry that mentality, if you hold on to that mindset, then it will keep you back from your forward movement. It will keep you back from growth. It will keep you back from change, positive change, forward change. And so as we're talking about the victim's mentality, we are understanding the dangers of staying at that place. So let's say that, maybe things did happen to you. You were hurt, you were traumatized, you were taken advantage of. The key to this message today is to be free from that mindset, learning how to take ownership, learning how to take responsibility, getting to a place where you can actually be healed and come from a victim's place and stepping into a victor's place, becoming a victor. How do I go from a victim to a victor, Sister Liberty? Well, number one, it starts with Jesus. Number two, it starts with taking ownership, taking full responsibility of where you may have played a role. So this topic that I'm talking about today is for those who have ears to hear, for those that want healing, for those who want real closure, because real closure and real healing isn't learning how to maneuver your way through life and faking it till you make it, and pretending like you are okay, and learning how to be okay but not be okay. Real healing and real closure is turning and surrendering your heart and your life to Jesus Christ and being honest with the areas of your life where you have been hurt, where you have been violated, you have been crossed over, and also acknowledging where you've played a role, because not everything that you and I may have gone through, that you may have gone through, that you may have experienced, not every single circumstance is the blame of others. Because when we're talking about a victim, and sometimes you don't know that you're in a place of bondage, you don't know that you are in a place of being a slave to that thing or that circumstance or that traumatic event until you're free from it. Sometimes you don't know that you're blind until your eyes are actually open and you begin to see things clearly. I remember being in sin and not knowing how blinded I was. Like, you could not have told me that I was blind, because as far as I was concerned, I could see. I understood life. I thought I did. I thought I understood how things worked. I thought I understood what freedom was. We are taught that freedom is doing what you want to do, how you want to do it, when you want to do it, not being told what to do. You're your own woman, you're your own man, your own person. And so freedom to you, freedom in your country and in your nation, is having the freedom of speech, having the right to do what you want to do. If you want to get an abortion, you can get an abortion. If you want to be with the same sex, you can be the same sex. If you want to do this trade, you can do this trade. Whether you are a woman and this it's a man's job, your society has taught you that anything you can do, I can do better. Women power, women independence. And so we take on many different mindsets, and it causes us to think a particular way about life and a way about ourselves. And so when it comes to freedom, we can have the wrong idea about what real freedom is. Real freedom, again, is not doing what you want to do when you want to do it, getting up when you want, going to bed when you want, going here and nobody being over you and nobody telling you what to do and how to do. But real freedom is in Christ. Real freedom is not being a slave inwardly and in bondage inwardly, because I can look the part on the outside. I can look like I have it all together on the outside, but be a complete slave to my emotions and my feelings, to where they determine how I feel. They determine how my day goes, and what's the basis of my day. My feelings, my emotions, my thoughts, my scars, my hurt, my pain. And so the victim mentality, the victim's mindset, it leaves me in that place of believing and thinking that everyone else is to blame. Everyone around me, it's her fault, it's his fault, it's their fault. Staying in this place of a victim's mentality will keep me stagnant. It will keep me not even in neutral, but actually going back. You may think that, well, I'm at a standstill, but holding on to a victim's mentality, it will cause you to go backwards. Why? Because you will never see where you played a role or where you've contributed. You will never see you as the one at fault. You will be someone who blames every person for your problems. And again, that's not to say that you've not been crossed over before. That's not to say that you've not been rejected and neglected and abandoned. That's not to say that people have not let you down. But at some point, as you continue in this victim's mindset and you get older and you become an adult, you learn to not take responsibility for your actions. Because one thing about a person who has that victim's mindset is they continue making excuses. They continue, they lower the standard for themselves because they want people to feel pity. So it's almost as if they won't put forth the effort to make change around them. They won't put forth the effort to shift in their mind and in their emotions. And I know this because I was someone who used to be a victim, and I carried that. I wore it good. Why? Because I wanted people to feel pity for me. I chose to not put forth effort in certain areas of my life simply because I felt like I didn't have to. I felt like, well, people should accept me because I've been through, I went through, I was this. People should lower the standard for me. People should not expect me to put in a lot. Don't expect a lot from me. Don't expect for me to, get over this and be what you want me to be. Don't expect much from me because I've been a victim. I've been crossed over. I've been hurt. I've been let down. I've been disappointed. Pity me. Feel bad for me. Pat me on the back. Excuse me over here. Let this thing that I did, this decision that I've made, let that be justifiable. That's the mindset that will cause you to stay where you at. And you will never have full closure. You will never have real healing. Real healing is not moving forward in a relationship and never addressing the elephant in the room. Real closure and real freedom is, you not just sweeping things under the rug and stepping over and going about your day. But real freedom and real closure is you addressing the core of the pain, the root, the hurt, the situation, the circumstance, and acknowledging where you were wrong, where you played a role. And again, it may not have been your fault that you were raped or you were touched or you were violated. That may not have been your fault. But what areas in your life can you be honest? Again, this is for those who are trying to grow, for those who are trying to overcome, for those who are trying to be a victor. Again, you have to decide. You get to choose whether you stay on this side of the fence or you begin to make some real decisions and some real changes and move forward. You go on the victor side of the fence, no longer a victim. You have to acknowledge, what areas in my life have I contribute? How did I play a role? How did I play a part? Was this circumstance really my fault? Because again, as a person gets older, and let's say you became a victim, as an adult, or things happen to you as an adult. And so as an adult, you've taken on this victim's mindset. And so, things are a little different from when you are a child compared to when you are an adult. One of the things that I heard recently is that a person who, let's say you're an adult now, you've made decisions and you did not get any good results. One of the things I heard is that someone who you make certain decisions and you're still getting the same results, but you're still making the same kinds of choices, you're still doing the same kinds of things. This person is classified as insane. They're insane. Why? Because their minds are not shifting. Their mentality is not shifting. They're still thinking that this kind of thing works. Although they've tried it several times in the past, they got the same results, yet they're not shifting in their mind. With the victim's mindset, if I stay here, if I continue to take this on, then I will cause life to become harder. I will cause life to become more painful. And so as we are acknowledging and taking responsibility and ownership, what we are doing is we're tearing layers of false peace in our lives. We're removing layers of false healing and false hope in our lives when we are addressing and attacking the core, the hurt, the pain, acknowledging where we were wrong, acknowledging where we were at fault. Hey, no, I was wrong in this situation. No, I played a part. I played a piece to that. I said this. I should not have been here. I should not have been dressing that way. I should not have been promiscuous. I should not have been flirting. I should not have been easy. Whatever it was, I should not have been as talkative and loose. Whatever the issue was, we are being honest, and that's the real healing. When you can be honest and stop lying to yourself, because one of the things that I've had to learn throughout life is to stop lying to me, because I can lie to people, but if I'm going to be honest with someone, it needs to be here. It needs to be with this person, being honest about what's really going on the inside. Because again, I can look like I have it all together on the outside. I can look free, but a person can look that way on the outside, but be in full bondage on the inside. Why do you think most people turn to suicide? Why do you think most people get to that place where they just want to end their lives? There's a whole war going on the inside. There's a battle. This person is dealing with years of trauma, years of hurt, years of pain, years of carrying this victim's mentality. It's like someone who has a disease. If you don't deal with this disease, we can use cancer. For instance, cancer is just one of those things that's common, and if you don't catch it at its earliest stage, then that's it. There's no coming back from that unless it's a miracle. It's very rare that you hear someone coming out of chemo or being healed from stage 4 cancer. If I don't deal with the victim's mentality at its earliest stage, then eventually that's going to become who you are. I don't know if you've ever met someone who it's never their fault. They're never the blame. It's always somebody else's fault, even when it's just them. Even if there's no one else to blame in the moment, they're going to go back and blame things from their past. Well, I didn't have my father. Well, my mom wasn't available. Well, I was the black sheep of the family. I was the one who had the darker complexion. I was the one who didn't have my father. I was the one who was always left in the shadow, who was always left out. If there's no one to blame in the moment, then you will look to those of your past to blame. And I'm telling you, if the longer you take on that mentality, the deeper the scars, the deeper the stronghold is, the stronger the bondage is, and it'll be harder to come out of that. Because you won't see anyone else but you. You will be the center of the focus. Everyone else will be the blame, and it'll be so hard to acknowledge that you are even at fault. And so I thought about Cain. as an example of someone who took on a victim's mentality, a victim's mind. Cain had a younger brother named Abel. Cain should have been a better example to his brother. He was the oldest. God chose Abel, or God chose Cain to be born first for a purpose, for a reason, because again, our lives are purposeful. Our lives are purpose based. So Cain, being the oldest, there should have been more done on his part as the older brother. So Abel offered up a sacrifice. He gave God his first fruits. Cain offered up a sacrifice, but it was not his first. However, he still gave to the Lord. But the word of God says in Genesis that the Lord had respect for Abel in his sacrifice. But with Cain, the Lord did not have respect for Cain or his sacrifice. That made Cain offended. That made Cain feel as though, why can't you just accept me as I am? And most of the time, those of us that take on that victim's mindset, we expect people around us to take us as we are, to accept us as we are. Hey, I've been hurt. Hey, I've been mistreated. Hey, I've been let down. I've been neglected. I've been abandoned by my parents. My parents put me up for adoption. This is me. Take me or not. You know, the world communicates this to us. Take me as I am. This is me. Don't expect me to change. Don't expect nothing from me. Don't expect me to put forth any amount of effort because I've been through this. And so Cain, he took that on. He took that on. He did not want to change. He wanted God to accept him just the way that he was. But he did not understand that it wasn't necessarily about what you were giving per se, what he was giving to God. It was about the mindset. His mindset needed to shift. His perspective, it needed to change. It needed to change. His victim's mindset that says, well, take me as I am. Do you know what that did to his heart? That allowed his heart to become cold. Not towards God, towards his brother. You don't realize what having a victim's mentality can do to your heart. What it's doing to your heart. It's doing things to your heart. It's doing things to your mind and to your body. You don't realize it. All that you feel, all that you are expressing, that stuff, the memory of your past, the things that you are doing, the blaming that you are still doing, that's being stored in your heart. That's being stored in your body. You don't realize why people deal with many different illnesses in their body. Your body tells you what's going on. You ever heard the phrase, listen to your body? Your body, when you have colds and illnesses and sickness, that means something is off on the inside. Something is off. There's been a shift. Your body is communicating to you and letting you know that, hey, something is out of place. Something is out of order. Something is not operating the way it should, whether it's an infection, whether it's a sickness, an illness, a disease, a tumor, a blood clot, cancer, lupus, whatever it is, your body's communicating to you. And most of the time, what's happening in the physical is a result of what's happening spiritually, what you can't see, what you may not be able to necessarily feel because you've covered the pain so well with these false emotions. And so Cain, he becomes wroth with his brother. This is Genesis chapter 4. I'm trying to see where I want to start so that we get the full understanding. Okay. Let's start at verse 4. Verse 3, sorry. And in the process of time, it came to pass that Cain brought of the fruit of the ground in offering unto the Lord. And Abel, again, his younger brother, it says he also brought up the firstling of his flock and of the fat thereof. And the Lord had respect unto Abel in his offering, just as I mentioned. But unto Cain and to his offering he had not respect. And Cain was very wroth. His countenance fell. He was offended. He was bothered We don't get the full, history of what Cain may have experienced as a child, but we know here they're not children, they're men. It says, and the Lord said unto Cain, why are you wroth? Why are you offended? Why does this bother you? Why has your countenance fallen? If you do well, if you just agree with God, if you just shift, if you just adjust, if you just yield, if you just submit, okay? He says, if you do well, shall you not be accepted? There are things that God has for you and us. God has for you and me, us, yes, us. God wants to release power and healing and strength and newness. He says, if you do not well, guess what? Sin lies at the door. If you don't shift, then there's a consequence for not shifting. If you hold on to this mentality, then there's a consequence. This is going to hinder your development and your growth. There's something else that's waiting for you if you hold on to this. Pain, sorrow, suffering. You don't get anything from holding on to a victim's mentality and blaming people the rest of your lives, of your life. Sin lies at the door, and unto you shall be his desire, and he shall have rule over you. You would have thought that Cain, hearing from God, because he's hearing from God. He's hearing from God. He's hearing what could happen, what may happen if he chooses to not shift. You would think this would convict him and stir up the fear of God on the inside to where, okay, I need to make some real decisions. I don't want to be governed by sin. I don't want to be his slave. I don't want to be in bondage. You would think that him hearing this, he would have made some real decisions, some real change. You would have thought, but it says this. And Cain, talked with Abel, his brother. We don't know what the conversation was about, but apparently it wasn't one of peace. It came to pass that when they were in the field, that Cain rose up against Abel, his brother, and slew him. Listen, people who take on victims' mentalities, victims' mindset, they wear it. It's them, it's who they are. Hey, I'm a victim. You don't realize that the longer you hold on to this, you will be in position to hurt other people. You ever heard this saying, hurt people, hurt people? That is true. Most people that are hurt and that are living life and trying to maneuver their way through, most of them, if not all, they will consider themselves to be victimized. I've been victimized. If you hold on to this, you are in a bad place. You are in position to hurt other people. Cain, he committed murder. He killed his brother. Yeah, you don't think it'll go that deep or that far. But when you're not dealing with the emotions, when you are not mindful of what's happening on the inside, when you are not aware that you're really not free but in bondage, you can't see that, you are capable of doing all kinds of things. Yeah, you will hurt people. That's why you hear of stories of people, going on killing sprees and women who's been hurt by men, killing men. And you hear all of these crazy stories. If you used to watch Lifetime, you hear all of these crazy stories. And I'm not even going to get into that. But yeah, you have to address the person in the mirror, the person that's looking back at you. You have to deal with that person. That's why Jesus says you have to crucify that person. Because if you don't, this person will think all kinds of things about themselves. They will think that they're the victim. They will think that they don't have to put forth effort. They will think that everyone else will need to change around them. And that was one of the things I struggled with. No, that person should change. No, that person should apologize. No, that person should make the necessary moves, make the first move, make the first step. Yeah, that person has already moved on with their lives. Yet you're still here. You're still in this place. You're still in this place. And another thing that I had to learn is you can't let that person keep you in bondage. But the person isn't keeping you in bondage. You're keeping you in bondage. What the people would say, or what people meant by that, is that person They may never come back and apologize. They may never come back and confess, acknowledge, take ownership. They may never do that, yet they're going to move on with their lives. They're not in bondage like you. They don't struggle with the things that you struggle with at night and, throughout your day and in your mind mentally and in your heart and in your emotions. They don't know. They've moved on. But you're holding on to something that you may not never get from the person. And so it starts with you deciding that you're going to let that thing go. If that person never comes back and say, hey, I did this, it was wrong, I'm sorry. If they never do that, if they never take ownership on their part, you have to decide that you will not stay in a place of bondage. You don't know that many people feel trapped because of what they've gone through, because of the trauma, the bad experience. They feel trapped to where they can't break free, and they don't realize that they're the only thing standing in the way. They're the only thing keeping themselves back. They are. Cain was the only thing holding him back. It wasn't Abel's fault. Was Abel at fault? He says when the Lord asked Cain, where's Abel, your brother? You're supposed to be an example. You're supposed to be a standard. You're supposed to be someone that he can look up to. Where's your brother? And he said, I know not. Am I my brother's keeper? Am I supposed to be responsible for him? Am I supposed to look after him? And the Lord said, what have you done? The voice of your brother's blood cries unto me from the ground. Yeah, so he cursed the earth. He cursed the earth and he cursed Cain. Although he put a mark on Cain, he cursed Cain. Cain was unwilling to shift. Cain was unwilling to go forward. You can go forward if you want. You have to choose. Sometimes you don't know that you're in bondage until you're free. Until God begins to break the mindset and break the mentality off you, then you realize, oh my goodness, I wish I would have dealt with this a long time ago so I could have been further along. You don't realize that holding on to the offense, holding on to, unforgiveness, grudges. That's how people have grudges. They hold on to things. You don't realize the fact that you've held on to this so long kept you in bondage for so long. But had you would have dealt with this years ago, had you would have forgiven, had you would have let go, had you would have told the person, I forgive you, had you would have gone to the Lord sooner, you could have been healed a lot quicker. You could have, eliminated yourself from more years of pain and heartache. Because most people who deal with the victim's mentality, they deal with trust. They deal with not being able to trust people, not being able to open up, not being able to get close to people who actually want to help them. And God may send certain people in your life that you may push away. They begin to burn bridges with people. They burn bridges. No, I've been hurt. My family, my dad, my mother, my siblings, this person, that person. And because they're not dealing with what's happening here, most of the time, these individuals, they grow up to be people who is always getting in trouble, always finding themselves at the either the detention center, depending on their age, or in prison or in jail. They always find themselves in trouble because they've not dealt with what's happening here. And so because they don't know how to deal with the scars and the pain and the hurt, they don't know how to control their emotions. So they always find themselves in bad circumstances and bad situations. They always find themselves going through more and being hurt more, being in more pain. They always find themselves just in more stuff. Yeah, things get worse for them. It doesn't become better. They're always in trouble. Trouble looks for them. Yeah. And what they do is they blame. They blame. No, well, I took that. I did that because of X, Y, and Z. If you can just get to a place where you're honest and say, no, this is the day I stop being a victim. This is the day I stop blaming other people for my actions and for my decisions. You've made decisions again. Again. Excuse me. That's not to say that you have not been a victim for real. But are you going to live the rest of your life as a victim, holding yourself back from growth, from for movement, from development, from freedom? Freedom. Jesus Christ, he comes to bring freedom not just on the outside, but on the inside, where he makes you free in your mind, free in your emotions, free in your feelings, where your emotions and your feelings, they no longer tell you how to feel and how to think and what to do. You're free. You now have control over them. The scars, the soul wounds, the tears in the heart, he comes to heal that. Jesus Christ will erase the memory. He will erase the trauma. He will give you power you didn't even know you had to actually forgive, your abusers, people who abused you, people who hurt you. He will give you power you didn't even know you had, strength you didn't even know you had to get over things, to forgive and to forget about. No, I'll forgive, but I'll never forget. He will cause you to forget about that thing where not only he heals you of the trauma, but he removes it as well. He removes the memory of it. That is freedom, where that thing no longer has a hold on you. It no longer has a grip. It no longer controls you. You're no longer a slave to it. And most of the time, you don't realize how deep into bondage you were in until you're free, where he removes the scales off of your eyes. He opens your ears. You can hear his voice. You can see more clearly. The sky looks brighter. The trees look more greener. The animals, the colors of their skin, their fur looks more vibrant. Everything in your world has changed. Why? Because everything in your world has changed. If you can shift on the inside, then things on the outside can shift. It starts with you. The freedom, it looks so much better when it's real freedom, not a false freedom, meaning you are pretending to be okay. When you are walking and stepping into real freedom, do you know that looks different on you than a false freedom, a false hope, a false peace that you may carry in the world? It looks different. It feels different. Yeah, you're no longer a slave to your world. You're no longer subject. Your confidence has grown. Your self-esteem has grown, not in a prideful sense, but you're no longer insecure. You no longer think these ways about you, about your life. Maybe you thought you were not beautiful. Maybe you thought you were not, valuable, accepted. Maybe you sought for affirmation in all the wrong places. You thought that love was you giving up your body. You thought love was selling your body. But now that Jesus Christ has come in and touched parts of your heart, now you know what real love is. Now you know what it means to be really accepted. Now he gives you affirmation that you don't have to look for in men or in women or in things or in sex or in money or in drugs. He gives you real affirmation. He clothes you. He puts shoes on your feet, a bracelet on your hand, jewelry on you, a crown on your head, a ring on your hand. And he speaks life over you. He speaks freedom over you. He gives you a new identity and maybe even a new name. That's the love of the Father, that you be free, that you be his people, a free people. Free men, free people, free women follow Jesus. Not a people in bondage, but a people who are free. A people who are free. Yeah. Free people can set other people free. But if I'm in bondage, then how can I help you? Me being blind, how can I teach you how to see if I'm blind myself? But when I'm free, when the beam is out of my eye, then I can now help you see clearly to take it out of your eye. I can help you take it out of your eye now because I'm free. I'm free. You don't know that you were deep into bondage until you are free. Wow. When I got free for real, when the Lord Jesus Christ, when he set me free, because that's what he comes to do. I didn't realize how messed up I was. Like, whoa. Lord, thank you for putting up with someone like me because I was a mess. And listen, I still am. He's making me. The good news is that he's not going to leave me a mess. That's the good news because he's making me. He's changing me every day. That's why you can't get used to me because tomorrow I'm going to be different. I'm going to be more like him. He's making me into his image. It does not yet appear what we will be like, but we know that when we see him, we will be like him. We're ever being changed. The sons of God are ever being changed. You're stepping into new measures of glory, new measures of freedom and healing. This, you don't know how high this thing goes. It's just, there's no end to it. There's no end to his love. There's no end to his peace, to his freedom. I forget the word. I forget the word. There's no end to it. It's grand. It's huge. It's big. It's immaculate. There's no end to it. There's no end to it. So my desire is to continue this topic at a later time, because there's so much that we need to grasp hold of, because holding on to this victim's mentality is essential. It's crucial. It's key for my forward movement. You can't go forward if you are at this place of blaming everyone else. You cannot go forward. You will always be, it will seem like you're moving forward, but you will always be right here, right here. But my baby is worshiping right now. She's crying out. So I have to go and attend to her at this moment. But on a serious note, you get to decide what you want to be, who you want to be in this life. Do you want to be a free person walking the face of the planet? And again, you can only be free in Christ. You can't be free outside of him. Anybody that's living outside of him, whatever measure of freedom they do have is only temporary. So we're deciding to walk freely with him. We're choosing to be a victor. He's already a victor. So I can reign with Christ. I can be a victor too. I can be an overcomer too. A person who gets called an overcomer, they don't get that title unless they've overcome some things. You don't get the title of being triumphant unless you've triumphed over some things, unless you've fought through some things, you've won some battles. Yeah. So may God open up your understanding. If you need help getting past this victim's mindset, if you say, yes, Sister Liberty, I consider myself to be a victim, and I still am a victim. There's healing in God's presence. If you ask the Lord to help you get past this, Lord, help me to stop blaming everybody for my life. Lord, I want real closure. I want real healing. I want real freedom. He will give you that. He will grant you that. But it does start with you. It does start with you. It starts with the person in the mirror being honest. Do I want to stay at this place for the rest of my life? Faking it till I make it. Because there are many people that have taken that mentality, that mindset to the grave. Yeah, they died that way. Cain, he died that way. But you don't have to. You don't have to. So allow God to be God in your life. Yield, surrender, submit, and he will give you green pasture. He will lead you into green pasture. Yeah. He will give you freedom in your mind, freedom in your emotions. Prayerfully, you desire that. God bless you in Jesus' name.